How's everybody? I think this time of year, it's really important that guys can maintain focus and energy to improve every day in practice. Look forward to creating value for themselves by, playing the next game, be their best game, individually and collectively as a team. I think when you get a little tired, banged up this time of year, you can't think about saving yourself. You got to be strong and deal from a position of strength by creating value, doing the right things, performing well, and the best way to do that is, every day in practice. So, and I thought the players have been, pretty good so far this week, and hopefully we can build and improve with our performance this week in this game. From an injury standpoint, I think Raekwon, DJ Dale, and Phil Mathis and Henry Ruggs are still very questionable for the game. Um, I did FaceTime with Tua today. He was in good spirits. He got his nose done, so and he hadn't shaved for a couple days, so I had to tell him, I like to say you look good, but he was in great spirits and a good mood, and so anyway, we're focused on what we need to do with the players that we have to get them to be able to play well in the game, and having a few guys down this week will obviously create some opportunities for some other guys to show what they can do and maybe add some depth to our team down the road. So I know we're dealing with some injuries, but the challenge for the defense this week is, these guys run option type football. It's not really wishbone, but kind of dive option type football, and they really do a good job schematically, and our players have to play responsibility football on defense. When you run the option, the point of attack moves, as the play, sort of expands. So everybody's got to be disciplined to, do their job first. And you can't just chase the ball because the ball is going to change where it's at. So, we mentioned before that we're excited about what the senior group that we have has been able to accomplish here. I think they've won, 50 games so far in their career, 4 years, and 64 games over a 5-year period is, pretty significant accomplishment, for those guys. So hope our fans, come out and recognize this group on Saturday and show their appreciation for, what they've done and how they've represented the university and the football program.
Coach, just to follow up on that, so many players seem to come through and they're here and gone in 3 years. And do you have a little extra appreciation now for the 4-year, the 5-year guy who really sticks it out?
Well, I don't think there's any question about that. If a guy's here for 3 years, he obviously does a really good job, and we appreciate them and what they've done. And, we just hope that they all make good business decisions about what they do in their future. But the guys that have been here and stay here and, value education, wanting to get a degree, continuing to sort of try to develop value by the way they play and develop as players. They become leaders, they're more mature, and they certainly have a great impact and set a great example for some of the younger players. And I do have a great regard for some of those guys. And, most of the guys that have been here for 4 and 5 years, they've had to overcome a lot of adversity. Like Anthony Jennings is, a guy had a really tough injury a few years ago and really worked hard to get back, and, wanted to come back this year because he didn't think he was quite as good as he could be last year, and he's done a fantastic job for us this year. I think he's one of the top production guys, and I think he has created value for himself. So I don't think, there's enough guys that look long-term at the value of being here over an extended period of time, graduating and trying to improve as a player so they create more value for themselves.
With the defensive line, how have you seen that group respond this week with so many guys injured and their young guys like Sopsher, Ingraham haven't played much? What kind of potential do they have for this weekend?
Well, we'll see. We'll see how they're playing. They all getting an opportunity to play this week, and they're getting a lot of reps in practice, and so I'm not disappointed. Their effort has been good. They're trying to learn. You know, some of them have been on the scout team all year. Sometimes you develop more on the scout team than you do, you know, when you're a backup player who doesn't get as many reps because you're going against good competition every day. So, but we're going to have a few of those guys that are going to have to fill in this game, and this will be a good opportunity for them, and I'm kind of anxious to see how they respond, to be honest with you.
I know you're taking the slow route with him this time, but how's Will Reichert coming along?
You know, making progress, but, you know, I think after the last time when, you know, we thought he was making good progress and then he had a setback, I think, you know, from a medical standpoint, they're really trying to make sure this time that he is, you know, A-OK. So he's done a little more each week. I don't think he's ready to kick right now, but we'll just keep trying to, you know, work him in.
Sticking with that senior day themed, I want to ask about Josh McMillan. Just how is his recovery coming along, and is he a guy that could potentially come back for his 6th year with a medical red shirt?
Yeah, I think so. We'll definitely petition for that, and then at least he'll have a choice as to whether he wants to do that or not. But all those guys are doing really well. You know, Dylan's doing well. He's doing well. Trey Sanders is doing well. LeBron Ray is, you know, come a long way in his rehab. So, you know, there's all those guys are really progressing nicely, and you know, Josh is a really mature, good leader. School's important to him, and I'm sure he'll make a great decision about coming back. We'd love to have him.
We saw Jaleel Billingsley make his first catch. Has he kind of progressed too as a tight end, as somebody that you can use more than just a pass catcher, like you said earlier?
Well, we've been using him, you know, quite a bit in the games, more and more each week, especially since we lost Miller. He's got a lot of potential. He's improved a lot as a blocker, and I do think he can make a contribution. I think knowledge and experience is really important with him, so he's confident in what he's supposed to do and how he's supposed to do it, why it's important to do it that way. But he is a very athletic guy. He's a good pass catcher, but he's really made a lot of improvement as a blocker.
Coach, there's certainly a perception that offense has sort of taken over the game of college football. And I looked up in the SEC record book, and I did notice that most of the top offensive performances have been in the last 10 years. And I want another more games, that's part of it, but I wonder if maybe there are some other things that you think of, if you agree with that have contributed to it. And also if you think the pendulum will come back and defenses will catch up, or if we're seeing the future of football.
No, I kind of think the game has changed, and I think it's changed. I think the rules that we have sort of benefited the offense. The advent of the RPO, because guys can go 3.5 yards downfield, and has created, you know, a totally different dynamic in terms of playing defense and being spread out on the field. You know, I think personnel-wise, you see because of this, even in high school, let's just say back in the day, you would play your best player at tailback and have 2 skill guys on offense playing wide receiver, and maybe some of the other guys play defense. Well, now, you know, people have 4 and 5 guys playing skill positions on offense. They have several guys playing tailback. They have a very athletic guy playing quarterback, because that benefits you in this kind of an offense. So I think there's more players actually being developed as offensive players, you know, because the style of play has changed, and they can enhance more opportunities. So I know it's more difficult to find, you know, the kind of guys that you need now that are athletic enough to play the spread game. And, you know, some of the guys that are just big, slow guys that you could play, you know, in the past when you were playing more of a wad ball type of game, they can't rush. They can't really play. And, you know, the development of the passing game, I mean, like it's a little over 60% of the plays in the National Football League are passes. It was probably 40% 15 years ago. So I think the growth of how people play offense in terms of spreading it out and the development of quarterbacks. More quarterbacks can run this kind of offense, get the ball out of their hand, and make you, defend in space. And then you got to have those kind of space players on defense. So I think if you have really good players on defense, and there are teams that have really good players on defense, and I think we've had a lot of really good players on defense, and I think we got a lot of really good players on defense now. I think our deal got affected a little bit about losing some guys. That you're athletic enough that you can play these plays on the perimeter and you can match up with the other team's skill. But I think you're going to see more and more, or less and less, of those types of defenses and more prolific offenses.
Your documentary with Coach Belichick is coming out next month. How was your experience with Coach Belichick and be able to doing that with him?
Well, Bill's one of my best friends. We kind of got to know each other because I coached with his dad when I was like 27 years old or something at the Naval Academy. We were both young, just barely starting out, and sort of developed a relationship then and spent a lot of time together through the years. And then having the opportunity to work with him in Cleveland was probably the most impactful thing to me in terms of what I was able to learn organizationally, how to run a program, how to run an organization, how to define the expectation for the people in the organization. I've had some great mentors, George Perlis at Michigan State, Don James, my college coach. I've learned a lot from just about everybody that I've coached for, but Bill was unique in terms of how he did things and how well organized he was, and I've benefited tremendously from that experience. He's the best coach that I ever had the opportunity to spend time with, and not just coaching players on the field, right, but understanding the game and understanding what you have to do to build an organization, whether it's how you bring personnel to the team, how you evaluate personnel, what you're looking for, how you define that, critical factors at every position. I mean, there's not one part of what he does that's not really well thought out and well organized. And, he surrounds himself with people who believe in the same things that he does, and they have success because of it. And I can't say enough good things about him and how much I appreciate the relationship. I enjoyed doing it because we're good friends. I haven't seen any of it, so I don't know what it's like, but I'm sure his part of it's pretty good. All right, thanks.